Hello and welcome to Electropreneur Secrets. We're back for another big actionable Wednesday. Why do we call it
Mhm.
that? Couple reasons. Every Wednesday, we put out a post that you could put your hand up to and get some free tools to help you on your Electropreneur journey. In fact, if you're with us in our Facebook community right now, then you're in the winner's circle because that is the place to access all of these goods. I'm your
Mhm.
host, Clay Newmeyer. This is my co host, my esteemed co host and partner who's with me every day of the week as we come here for you to help master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. Joe, I like to just mix that up to make it hard for myself once in a while. So you don't quite hear the same thing, it's just a spin
Mhm.
on the same thing. Either way, how are you doing today, brother?
I have felt like this week has been one of the best weeks. I've really loved it. I feel like my energy's on point. We have a great bunch of things we're talking about. We're helping so many people. It's beautiful out. I mean, I can tell from my little basement office with the tinted windows. Like, I'm loving it. It's been
It
an
actually looks
awesome.
smoggy behind you.
It's a purple wall. I was gonna
No, it's
say.
not. It's not a purple wall,
Oh,
man.
the
You're in a
background. All right.
cityscape. You got buildings behind you. You're on the 16th floor over there.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'd actually love to be where my picture is. This is supposed to be Sydney, Australia, and it's one of the places that I've always wanted to visit. Australia has just got one of the highest populations of electricians, and it's got one of the best environments that I've ever heard of.
And they love Canadians.
Well, who doesn't like Canadians? You guys are so damn nice. Like, why wouldn't you be welcome everywhere?
Here I am, the pleasant peasant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves me. No, it's true. In fact, a few of the girls I went to high school with moved to Australia and got married off very quickly.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Australians and Canadians, we've got a thing going.
Did
Think
you
our
also say that about you in Mexico, though?
well, I love Mexico. Yeah, don't you?
Oh, yeah, but no, I was gonna say the same thing that you guys can go down there, and there's a lot of presence of Canadian as well.
Even our marketing and sales coach is Australian.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude.
It's like a tractor beam. You can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, we've got a great show today, and it ties in perfectly with the series we just finished on the action guide to fix your schedule. Because what we just talked about was a schedule that's too full. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
common problem, a little known common problem that happens in high season. And today we're
Mm-hmm.
addressing that. And this high season sales team and how they start to get complacent on a process and start
Mm-hmm.
to swing for the fence, to continue the baseball metaphor. What do we mean by
Mm-hmm.
that, Joe?
Oh, I can't wait to break this down. All right. So to set the stage of where we're at, I want to paint the scenario that we're currently discussing. So imagine it is currently, as of right now, June, July. You're getting towards the season that we're in right now.
Tough to
So far,
imagine, but I'm with you.
yeah, right. Doesn't imagine, right? The thing is that if you've been selling since January, you know that what's a typical electrician slow season? Right around November after Thanksgiving, December, January, February. March comes, tax returns come back. Spring season comes up, and people start having more enthusiasm and natural interest in driving and moving forward. So you've got March, April, May, June. At this point, season is in full swing. The majority of your projects are already either started or collected. You're working on your next. And you've got the rest of June, July, August, and September for that same high season to keep going. Because you've gone from that now to September generator season. The problem is when you're so used to having customers who have natural interest, meaning that they themselves are pushing the sale and saying, I want to move this forward, you can actually fall off your own process.
Hmm.
Now, the reason why that happens is because if your customer is already naturally interested, you usually feel more comfortable offering these bigger ticketed options. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have no issue whatsoever with a high option. I mean, granted, we do platinums ourselves as well. But the fact is that when you're used to only presenting a certain tier of option, when the customer's interest goes down and you haven't actually perfected your ability of generating and creating that interest, you end up with a bunch of salespeople who are putting out these very high ticket options and wondering why people aren't biting the way they used to. Continuing on with that, if you don't mind the monologue,
No, go, go. Let's hear
we
it all.
still have a situation where you have technicians or salespeople saying, I wonder why they're not buying. And rather than saying it's me, you immediately look at external factors. Well, maybe it's slow season, or maybe things are slowing down a little bit, or maybe it's just, the phone didn't ring. We need more marketing, or whatever it is. You start coming with other reasons other than my process is failing me. So getting someone to pull out of that slump is much harder if you're not constantly monitoring the energy. That's the main problem we're trying to focus on today, which is if you're only putting these top tier options out, you're losing so many potential interested in that along the line.
Well, I love that. And you know what? That monologue was perfect, Joe. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I
Frothing
would
at the
go
mouth over here.
on a limb here and also say there's a personal issue with those people that are having this experience. And it's a personal issue I believe we've addressed before, but it's literally personal, as in when you get complacent with a process, what are you leading with now?
You lead with only your enthusiasm. Like you're going to wear your heart on your sleeves.
100%, right? Your person. You're leading with your characteristics, what you believe, what your ego believes is necessary in that moment. You begin to believe, because it's high season, that you're actually that good because the demand has increased. Does that make sense?
It really does.
That's a really dangerous place to be.
Equally dangerous is because that same reason people are less likely to pull out of it. Because once you point the finger back at yourself, it's a hard conversation to have and say, I am the reason why things aren't happening. I am the reason why people aren't buying. And because of that, I need to fix me before I can change anything else. It's easy to throw more money at your SEO and say like, oh, I need to get more leads coming in. I'd rather you have less leads, but better conversions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why in our KPI, in our tracking, we're actually tracking a few extra pieces of information, right? We're tracking that whole sales process to a sense of understanding, well, what type of call did we run in the first place? Because that has an impact on how that call plays out. Is it a 1 call or a 2 call close? And finally, what option did they take? Right? You start to see, well, conversions dropped, and you see the data reflecting that, and you start to look at the options presented, just as you said before, taking a snapshot of those options and making sure to include it on the file to track the choice or lack thereof. You start to see and figure this out pretty quick, what's going on. And the trouble is that people don't actually respond with honesty and in a lack of ego. It tends to go the other way around. And anyone can say, well, I'm not egotistical. And just please recognize, if that's your knee jerk, that in itself is egotistical, right? Your ego is a representation of your belief of oneself. Your ego is a representation of who you identify with. And if you put your hand up and say, hey, in high season, I do fall back from a process, that's an ego-driven activity. It's actually a shortcut. It's the path of least resistance at times, especially if you're still learning that process. But wouldn't it be better off to challenge ourselves to be consistent all season long, all year around, so that we never actually have a slow season, never experience that?
That is actually the number one goal that we have. And I want to say why. Because when you start chasing slow season, you're going to be so much better off than every other technician you meet, because everyone else is focused on the revenue. I'm going to get these calls. I'm going to get this volume. And they're focused on collecting the checks. Instead, you're training for when people are like, they're only asking for price. They're only looking at things. They're only budget shopping. The economy is rough. I want those calls at those times, because I trained for those all year. So when you go against the other person who's just coming off high season, you're ready to go. You're like a muscled up pit bull ready to rock and roll. You're going to succeed where others will not. So your slow season disappears because you're the one actually getting all that work.
You know what? There's a perfect, great, and very relevant and recent example happening right now, Joe, that we went through this morning that I believe actually ties into this.
Oh, stitch it. Go for it.
You want to talk about the storm?
Yeah. Okay, I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So one of our clients in class today, without giving too much away, this is a happy ending, by the way, did come in with some frustration that based on the a recent storm activity around Father's Day in what do we call that? Mid East USA.
Just say Midwest without saying too specific. Just the
Midwest.
Midwest. No, it's
Okay.
Mid-East actually, but still.
Yeah, fair enough. Demand increases. We've all experienced this, right? You
Mhm.
mentioned various hurricanes that have come through, especially on the East Coast there.
Mhm.
And what happens, the result is hundreds of calls are coming in.
Mhm.
Everyone is flooded. Services have broken. Trees are literally taking weatherheads right off the roof, right? You got wires laying on the ground in a lot of cases. And the response, in fact, I would first start by saying the energy in the entire environment outside of your company, just in the community, is vibrating.
Mhm.
Power's out. People are facing problems that honestly, it's stuff we take for granted that we were complacent about. Like we used
Mhm.
to have heat in the house. We used to have lights on. You used to be able to cook. Now all of a sudden you're screwed, right? So
Yep.
can we talk a bit about this situation, how that impacts us, our knee-jerk and emotional reaction, and the
Mhm.
corrective action or the proper action to begin with? Can we unpack
Correct.
that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So going through it, the knee-jerk reaction is often to try to get the jobs. Focus on, I'm going to get the job. I'm just going to focus on getting whatever job is there. When instead, when you have a massive influx of potential, you can then have the ability of saying, I'm not just going to take any job. I'm going to take only the clients that are going to be best to work with us. I'm going to establish our brand, say this is what we believe in, stand by it, and then people who want to believe in us will rally behind us. And those who don't will find providers that are better for them. So the very first step was saying, I completely understand and I'd love to help you. As of right now, we are only, due to the extreme demand on our service from the storm, we are only serving our club membership customers right now. So either A, you can join our membership and we'd love to have you, and then we can get you onto the calendar. Or what we can do is we can take your information, put you on our standby list, and as soon as demand decreases, be happy to come back out and take care of you then. What would you prefer? And from there, you're now funneling customers to say, do you want good service this way? Or are you looking for just anyone?
Right. Because my understanding of this situation is where that panic energy set in and where that, I don't want to use the word complacency because that's not what this was, but it's like we try to rush our service a bit to fit more
Mm-hmm.
in that panic. I think that really is the root cause here. And so
Mm-hmm.
as a result, it became, well, 6 options takes too long. Let's go back to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially even we can reduce our price to be fair to people and just help them out.
Mm-hmm.
But the advice really is not to do that, right? It's the opposite of that. It's to stick to the
Yeah.
play. Why is that?
So the thing is, we have to take emotions out of our decision making when it comes to running the process. The reason being is that if too many external factors are going to make you feel that what you're doing isn't ethical or fair or anything, we have to look at where that's coming from. Is that someone telling you that? Odds are usually no. More often, it's if someone were to tell you, hey, you're charging a lot, but you didn't believe that you were, it wouldn't touch you. But when someone comes to you and says, you're stealing from people, you're charging too much, and there's a part of you that might believe that, those comments are really going to jar you. And if anything, they're going to make you feel like maybe I am wrong. Maybe I am doing something wrong. I don't want to get a bad review. All right, I'll lower the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this case, I would say to add a little more specificity, that it became a 3 option thing. And as we said, it was like, okay, well, how are we going to do this in this rush time? On the
Mm-hmm.
advice of taking a step back, slowing down, capturing the emotion, and recognizing what's happening. This individual, Alan, did come back after with a win and said, you know what? After the class, I figured 3 options. Well, I could come up with a fourth pretty easily. And the next 2 calls I ran after that took that fourth option. So it was very much a situation where slowing that down and recognizing what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
having control over that. Because the reality is the demand's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be tons of people that aren't being served in great time. By moving away from our process, that's the very point of our chat today, right? By swinging for the fences or by even just shortcutting a process to fit more people in, that's also a way to swing for the fences that is
Yep.
actually damaging to A, your ability to serve at the highest level, right? Which of
Mm-hmm.
course is going to affect your pricing. Thus, that affects your profitability. When in
Mm-hmm.
reality, sticking to the play and just running the play would likely prolong that. And in fact, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
say likely, prolong at a more profitable pace. Does that
I
make
actually
sense?
want to, yeah, I want to touch on something with that if it's okay.
Yeah, do it.
So a lot of times we're thinking of how we can best serve our clients, right? And sometimes we go along the line of saying, well, we're going to shortcut it. We're going to reduce the options because by reducing the options, we're actually going to be less salesy with people, right? Now, we've already touched on our thought that if you only give one option, you're actually serving them at a less level. But along the lines of training for the slow season, I want to talk about how this can be dangerous.
Hmm.
So if you're designing 6 options and the customer on the other side of the table, or ideally, if you do our process right, the one who's directly next to you, is going to be telling you that they want your service. They're interested and they want it now. What better time to present those choices? If you're struggling to present choices to someone who needs you right now, what are the odds that you're going to also feel that same pull to not give them options when October or November comes and they're telling you, I'm just looking into this, we're getting budget shopping right now? Oh, they're not going to want 6 options. I'm going to give them what they want. They gave me a laundry list. They have it written down right here. I'll just give them what they want and they'll get the job.
Super important point.
Mm-hmm. So the main thing we've got to take away from this is that by sticking to the process, by offering the 6 options and continuing to offer the 6 options, you'll find that it becomes muscle memory. You worry about doing it quickly. Best way to do it, practice.
Mm-hmm.
You're worrying about doing it consistently with the customers behind you. Okay, practice. Keep running the play and it becomes second nature until eventually you can get to the point where you can do 6 options in what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Not going to be terribly long, but you've got to practice the process.
Yeah. And that honestly is the most common complaint or concern that we hear about even thinking about putting 6 options together.
Mm-hmm.
How long is that going to take? My guys are already impatient trying to put 3 together. And I tell you what, Joe, I'm going to go on a limb here again and say something really contrasting, really controversial here. I'm going to go ahead and say the reason that it's taking so long to make 3 options in the first place is due to electrical tech brain
Mm-hmm.
not understanding the why and or dealing with the technical challenges of a price book or standard pricing situation that hasn't been
Yeah,
simplified enough to just allow you to serve your customer at the highest level.
I'll agree with that.
Time and time again. In fact, this morning on a call, someone mentioned that from our fan base, and they had said, "Well, I don't know if my techs would buy into that. I don't know if they would buy into giving 6 options just because the making of 3 sometimes is taking long enough 45 minutes to an hour. Who wants to spend that kind of time creating options? Hey, I'm
I
with you.
wouldn't blame him. I don't blame him one
Spend
bit.
that time, right? Exactly what you're saying here. But if you can get this to 10, 15 minutes, the way it should be anyway for any option development, and doing that in the presence of the homeowner, that changes the game, man.
It does. So developing the service pricing, perfecting it, running the play is going to develop muscle memory. I mean, you think about the thought of 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours is the established number of what it takes to consider yourself a master of anything. You need to not just do something 10,000 times, you need to do it properly 10,000 times. It's not just the effort, it's the consistent dedication to consistent process. Doesn't matter what the thing is. So if you were to tell me that you did 10,000 option sheets and it still took you 45 minutes to do, my question isn't that the job was overly complicated. Because granted, that happens. We do a 400 amp server with 40 circuits in it. Yeah, okay, no problem. But for the average one, they shouldn't take that long. And if you've done that many and it's still taking that long, I'm going to question what's going on.
You just
That
brought
we
up
can
something.
troubleshoot.
There's a one-liner in my head that I cannot let go now. I mean, this is going
Go
to be
for
a
it.
post this week. I'm gonna give you this crystal ball. It's not that creating those options is overly complicated. It's that you're over complicating it. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Like
fuck.
when
That
you
that that
have the
actually, that's
why
it. That's it right there.
and you have the simplicity behind it. I mean, most people that come in and work with us, honestly, they're amazed by how simple the options actually are.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had someone come into a session yet with you that said, hey, this is going to take me all day, Joe, and you help them crank it out in 12 minutes flat, and then afterwards they're like, that's cheating, or that doesn't make sense, it always makes sense. It's always
Mhm.
so simple that it was right there the entire time. But that just reminds me of every aha moment I've ever had in life,
Mhm.
right? You ever attend a class, maybe it's in your electrical training, something, and you're just like, aha, that's it.
Mhm.
If I had spent enough time thinking about that, I would have come up with that.
Mhm.
Well, guess what? The time's been spent. The theory's been proven. Joe's already done that for you. So you get to support you guys with it right here, 5 days a week. And if you want even more, you can come on the inside with the other dozens of contractors and get 24/7 support so that you don't even have to come up with it on your own. You can message from the driveway and get help right there. Message
Mhm.
as you're going in. Hey, here's my observation sheet. Boom, take a picture, send it over. There's never
Mhm.
been a better time to be a residential service electrician.
I love that.
And I want to get back to something here because we're getting off track and we're plugging ourselves here. The options. Okay. One of the best things that I love about presenting 6 options is, as a customer, they actually feel this presence of someone who's trying to help them by providing as
Mhm.
many potential choices, not confusion, not overcomplicating it, just creating choices for them. As they say, one choice is no choice at all. If I've got
Mhm.
6 to choose from the absolute best money can buy to the most affordable you could create, the most bare bones you could offer, the lowest band-aid we could potentially set out here,
Mhm.
then I know where your bottom line is and I know where your top line is, and I can see all the levels of effort in between to help me accomplish what my needs are.
Makes complete sense.
So as we've said
Now,
before, every choice is a great choice. Didn't mean to
mhm.
cut you off. I just
No,
wanted
no,
to
it's
throw
fine.
that in there selfishly because I love to say that.
No, it's true. And that's actually, believe it or not, the next thing I was going to talk about. And I got to admit, there was a point during this call where I'm sitting there, I'm almost wanting to flex and be like, all right, can someone throw me a call and ask for 6 options and let's just do it? Maybe there's going to be one episode where we just say, fucking test us, prove it. Let's do it
You
right
could.
now.
In fact, like there's guys live. Guys, if you need options, if you've got a
Mhm.
job coming up today, we've got 5, 10 minutes tops left in this podcast. So if you're with us engaging in the Facebook group and you're able to go ahead and throw a job out there and we'll come up with options here as fast as we possibly can. But that would have to be in the next minute or so. Otherwise, we'll try again next time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be a great endeavor to do. One thing that I can speak of is what we were talking of this morning, where it was, what do you do and how do you create options with storm situations?
Right.
Would it be cool if I just touched on that for a moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So to give you guys a scenario, the reason why we're touching on this particular thing is some people say that it's very hard to offer options when there's a lines down in the house. Like you roll up and you see the SEU, SER lines are just in the yard. Obviously, something either ripped the mast down or something took the service off, or there's a tree there. I get it. The customer has no power. Now they may think to themselves, I need you to put that back. Where I'm trying to explain of how you're going to build these options is when it comes down to your insurance. Now, the insurance company is obligated to pay you or to pay the customer for the minimum amount of work that you would have done to restore it back to square one, right? To get it back to where it was, they have to make sure they're paying you. It could be 1,000, could be 1,500, could be 2,000. Doesn't matter the amount, but they are obligated to pay that. Where this gets interesting is the thought of saying, okay, the customer has a $1,500 check in their hand. We could either take the system that clearly failed in the storm and we can put it right back up so that it could fail again. Or we could take this opportunity to help the customer with free money that they can invest back into their home to build more value. So with that being said, we got 8 minutes. Let's see if we can do 6 options in under 8 minutes. Is that cool?
You've got another challenge after that because
All right.
four
What's your
people
challenge? Let's go for it.
commented with different jobs to do. So we're actually going to try and set a record here and see what we can come up with. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
8 minutes flat. Here
All
we
right.
go.
8 minutes on the top. So your top option, you're going to walk in and you have to recognize, what can we do? Well, first thing is, if the service is damaged, how old is the system? If the system's older, it could justify doing a full system replacement. Top option would be full meter, service, conduit, everything done in rigid, making sure it's perfect, electronics protection, full home circuitry identification, club membership. Right off the top, those would be the easiest things you can come up with. You want to make it even spicier? They have a reason for the surge protector because they lost it during bad weather. So there's a justification for it. Going even further, what's stopping them from saying they just lost power? Couldn't they have had this protection if they had a generator? Doesn't mean you need to do a full standby, but wouldn't it have made sense to say, let's at least put an interlock in, put an inlet on the other side of the wall, and even provide them with a portable generator if they don't have it? Just so you can say, I understand this is the finest option. I don't expect you to take this. But if you really wanted the most turnkey solution to where this never could conceivably happen again, this is what we're talking about. So your top option is full system change out, surge protector, interlock, including a generator. Service-wise would be doing the permit, the inspection, the utility coordination, and the insurance information. What I mean by that is you will personally call the insurance company on their behalf, and you'll be the liaison handling that situation. Option 2, let's go down and say, let's remove the generator itself. I won't provide the physical generator, but I will make sure that I'm going to do everything other than that. Okay, great. Beneath that, you can still say, depending on the situation, you can either pull things away or you can add things in. In this circumstance, let's pull things away. Let's say remove the generator interlock. They didn't ask for it originally. It's a nice to have. It's not an essential to have, but it'd be good to have. As a result, for the less premium options, it gets removed. So you've got your panel, your meter, your conduit, your surge protector, your club membership. Going down again further. Now we're at what? Option 4? Okay. Option 4 would then be removing maybe the full system change. Maybe even lower it further. You could say, I can remove the surge protector. I can remove the circuitry identification. I could just do the meter. I could do the panel. I could do the bare minimums. Okay. You want to go less than that? Less than that would then be saying, what else can we do? Well, we could talk about restoring the existing system. Keep the interior panel inside, refeed it with your SCR, go back up to the meter, change your riser, but you keep the existing panel. Bare minimum, option 6, is let's keep the meter and let's simply take the mast and either put it back up, or we're going to take the SCR, SCU, put it back up, or we're only going to fix above the meter where the point of damage is. Technically, that would have been the option you're starting with anyway. All we did was provide 5 other options that serve the client at a higher level. And that took me 3 minutes. 4 minutes. All right.
3 to 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Okay. We're going to fit one more. This one's going to be a little more challenging.
Throw it.
Okay. Jessica came in with one, and it was the bottom. And let me just speak to Andrew, who said hot tub install. Andrew, the only reason I'm not starting with you, because you were first come, first serve, my brother, is because we've literally got that one recorded. So I'm going to send that to you. Of course, I want to help you with that. So I'm going to send that over. Rob Gailey then said above ground swimming pool, and he's got a week to provide an estimate and get it on the schedule, apparently.
Yes, give me the pool.
I know you want that one. But I'm going to hold off on that one too.
All right.
Jessica said something really tough.
Cool.
This is, I think, tough in the ears and eyes of any electrician. What if they just call you because they want to relocate a GFCI just a few inches?
Great. All right, let's dig into that. So the thing I have to figure out is the why.
Yes.
Why are we doing it? When you understand your why, everything starts to click into place. So I'm going to have to judge by my assumptions of the why in this circumstance. So forgive me, Jessica, if it's not 100% on point.
And just to add to this, Ben had one about a distribution point for a beverage cooler in a storage closet. Very similar answer here. Very similar answer. So please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's just helpful to know. So a customer wants to have the GFI moved a couple inches. I'm assuming this is a kitchen. That's the only thing that I can think of why someone's moving it, whether it's a backsplash or something else is going into place.
Yes, confirmed.
So
they're doing a kitchen.
All right, cool. So at least I'm on the right pace. So my first thought is you're moving that GFI. What other GFIs are in the home? And are they currently installed and operating correctly? The reason why I say that is the most obvious thing to start with is most GFIs in the kitchen are not localized. that you have one GFI that protects multiple downstream locations. In addition to that, that same setup is common throughout most homes, where you can find that, oh, the bathroom is controlled by the garage, or, oh yeah, the downstairs outlet next to the meter or next to the panel, you press that and the garage one works. So the first thing we're going to talk about is localization of all of them. Every individual GFI gets its own individual GFI, or GFI protected point gets its own GFI is what I mean. In addition to that, are there enough current outlets in place? Meaning that if you have just one single, that's cool. But if anyone who's got a family of kids knows that there's a lot of devices all over the place. How many times do you go by and see a surge protector sitting or a surge strip sitting on a countertop with a bunch of devices plugged into it? So then, yeah, you get it.
Guilty,
So,
have it.
yeah, right.
Yep.
So changing your single outlets to quad boxes and now saying, why don't we have doubles in place? That could happen across the board. The next is then saying, well, what about those particular countertop points we need to address? Could we have USB points? Could we have backlit outlets? And following that same logic, could we not also have undercount lighting? We're talking about a kitchen renovation. If you're removing the backsplash in order to move something, wouldn't that be the easiest time to do any fishing for the countertop if you want to have a switch behind the wall? Rather than having to fish it after the tile is in place and cutting it with your oscillating tools. Absolutely. And we haven't even talked about anything outside the kitchen. We're still
love
there.
Music in the kitchen.
Ah, you already know. So I mean, there's speaker bulbs that we could be putting in as well. But in addition, let's just stick strictly with the GFI without stretching it too far at all.
Sounds good.
We're now just in the kitchen. The options above that would then be expanding it further and further, such as we're localizing all the kitchen. We should also localize all the bathrooms. Every bathroom should be individualized protected. The garage should be individually protected. The exterior should be individually protected. The laundry room, whole home is going to get localization of GFI. While we're doing that, likely we're going to be turning circuits on and off. Would it not justify also doing a whole home circuitry identification? Because if you're going to be turning them off anyway, what are the odds that it's been fully updated and moved? Then going further than that, you're already in the panel. What could be going on in the panel that you might see? Well, doesn't matter what it is. I mean, if there's safety concerns, obviously that makes it easy, but let's say it's perfect. Brand new panel, crisp mint. It's still got the sawdust on the bottom of it. That's how new it is, right? What's stopping you from offering a whole home electronics protection system? What's stopping you from offering a sensing system? What's stopping you from offering a club membership? What's stopping you from offering any additional maintenances that you're going to go and see, such as they have additional systems like Teslas or solars or generators? Your goal isn't just to say, this is the one thing that's all I'm going to be focusing on. My challenge to every one of you is to say, know their why. When you know why they want something, they're good to go. So do you feel like we had a decent amount of option suggestions at this point?
100%. And there's
Okay.
more that flood to mind too, even, right?
Yeah.
100%.
We can keep going. We can obviously keep going with it.
No, you nailed it. You did. And we're right a minute past the hour. So that was 5-6 minutes to come up with all of that. The only thing left to do was literally to build it out. And Jessica replies with exclamation marks, yes, and thank you. And she's applauding. That helps. So
namaskar.
Jessica,
Happy to help you.
It was excellent to help you with that. We got a little off track today, but the point here was, guys, swinging for the fences is dangerous. What we need to do is address that why, serve at the highest level, and understand that every choice is a great choice. Any choice is a great choice because it suits their level of needs. If we'll follow that process, if we'll stick to it, then I guarantee you can have a much better outcome, i.e. avoiding slow season. How important is that? Okay, Joe, thank you so much for your help with this one today. This has been another episode of Electrepreneur Secrets, the Electricians podcast, where we join you, electricians, to help you master sales, simplify pricing, and deliver premium level service. Tomorrow is another great day to do so. And then Friday, as plugged yesterday and the day before, we've got a Dan Antonelli and a Kick Charge Creative interview. His book, Branded Not Blanded, and everything in between. Answer all of your electrical branding and marketing questions. I can't wait, Joe.
Neither can I, man. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, cheers.